Hello everyone, a very good morning to all of you students. This is Assistant Professor Ishani Trivedi from LJ Institute of Engineering and Technology. Continuing with the session regarding the subject Construction Equipment and Automation. So students, in the previous session, this session is connected with the previous session, so I advise you to watch it first and then come to this session. So we have been discussing about automation in construction of highway, right? We talked about that how the automation can be applied in the various fields of your construction of a highway. What are the stages, what are the processes involved in a construction of a highway project, because it is a huge project which we are talking about. So we discussed about how the whole thing works, and what are the works which are involved if you talk about applying the automation in construction of a highway. Now students, today we are moving forward with the concepts regarding the finance of this automation in construction of a highway, right? As we have discussed about financing the equipment in the past as well, we had talked about how financing and budgeting the manual equipment is important for us. We discussed about the various technical formulas and talked about calculating the various examples regarding the same. So similarly here, now we are going to talk about the concepts regarding the financing, that is the development of a business policy for automation technology, right? Now students, we know that for any kind of project, financing is going to be important, and when we are talking about providing automation in such large construction works, then the finance is going to increase, the initial cost is going to increase. All of these technologies which are to be applied in developing them, in deciding the policy and financing, the cost is going to increase at initial level. This can also be considered as one of the disadvantages, limitations of the automation. It will be demanding a huge amount of finance, which we also discussed in limitations of automation in the previous sessions as well. Now, today I am going to talk about the deciding the business policy for automation technology. So first, I am going to go step by step. We are going to talk about steps. See, it is very understandable. It is simple. If you just pay attention that what is written in the step, then you will be able to understand. So it says, first of all, define the objectives and business requirement. Now what comes under this, right? What are your objectives? Meaning, what kind of work you are to perform. Whether you are going to construct a national highway or a normal highway or a concrete road or say asphalt road or a bitumen road. So what are your objectives? What are the objectives to be achieved? Then business requirements. What are the requirements of your particular construction project which you are going to commence? You are going to require equipment, you are going to require various manpower, you are going to require skilled operators, you are going to require the funding, the business agencies, the stakeholders, the consultants. All of these things have to be decided first. That comes under your objectives and business requirements. The next step followed is consult with the stakeholders. Once you are clear with what are your requirements, what are the things to be bought, what are the things to be done, from where it has to be done, then you are going to consult with the stakeholders. The stakeholders meaning the funding agency. Now each of the stakeholders are going to have its various roles. All of the consultants are going to have various roles in the field of survey, in the field of construction, in the field of designing, in the CAD design, in the 3D modeling, right? All of the different type of work are going to have different stakeholders. So then you are going to consult with the stakeholders and decide on their particular roles and financing. Next we have is select automation processes. Now once you are going to have a summary of all your stakeholders and consultants and what role they have to play, then you are going to decide on what kind of automation you are going to provide and in what processes. Whether you are going to provide automation in just the survey works, whether you are going to provide in constructing, in the earth moving equipment, in the excavator, whether you are going to provide automation in every possible equipment in your construction work. So you have to decide on that, and based on that you will be able to find out what will be the finance. The next step followed is identify the affected policy areas. Once the policy is decided, once the work is decided, you are also have to give a cross check to it, right? You have to give a cross check, and then you have to find out that what kind of accuracy will be achieved with the use of all these processes which I have decided. You are going to cross verify it, you are going to check on it, and then you are going to identify that whether this business policy which you have decided on is going to give you maximum output with maximum accuracy or not. Next step which we have is make necessary investments. Once you are clear with your full business policy, once you have consulted with everyone, once your automation works are decided, once all of the things are done and you have verified your policy, then you are going to make the necessary investment. I think that is to be understood that the next step is your investments. And last, implement the policy changes. Go back to the stage where identify the affected policy areas. If you are finding any loopholes in the system, then you are going to implement the policy changes in the next step after your investment. You can do it after investment as well. And then again, this cycle can be repeated again during the construction of the project if it is required, right? So this forms your setting up the business policy of the automation technology. I am also showing you in a simplified digitalized manner. Can you see that you are going to input all of the things in the computer system, in the laptop system, that will be diverting to your software system, and that will be diverted directly into the machines. So I think students, this particular image is very important for you. It gives you a message that how the development and implementation of automation can be done just by sitting into a chamber, right? All of these things have just one aim: to make things simple, to make things easy, to make things less tedious, to involve less labor work. So this is how it explains you very well that you can convert your full system just from a software and from digital modeling, from BIM, that is building information modeling, then you can convert it practically on site. Now next we are going to talk about is stages of highway automation technology. What are these stages? I think we already know the stages, but today we are going to talk about these stages in detail. We saw the flow chart, that how first the survey work is carried out, then designing is done, then CAD system, that is modeling, is done, and at last construction work is commenced. But today we are going to see all of these basic steps, 4 to 5 steps in detail, in depth. So first you have to carry out the survey works. We know that we are also going to discuss the survey in detail because it is important for us. So first of all, consideration for establishing the site control. Survey means site control, right? So what are the considerations to be taken into account for establishing the site control, for establishing the survey stations at the particular site? Next, inclusion of the MET data, that is meteorological data. What is the weather condition, the topography, the past history data, the current data. So you have to gather all that data. Next, accuracy tolerances for topographic survey. Now you know that we have different types of surveying. We have contour survey, we have topographic survey, we have site survey, right? If we talk about the geological features, then survey is carried out for that as well. So particularly for the topographic survey, we are going to talk about the accuracy, meaning what corrections have to be applied and how many corrections are tolerable. Next, use of remote sensing. Once the basic works are done, the next stage comes in picture is using the automated system, that is your remote sensing, and converting your data into real-time data, into models and maps. And you can also use the non-traditional survey products, meaning the modeling, right? You can extract the models, the 3D models, maps from the GPS. That is your non-traditional product. Next we are going to talk about is design. Once the survey work is done, then comes the design part. So the applications of 3D models in design development. We have already discussed about 3D modeling structures, that how it can be done. So how you are going to apply this on your site, on your construction work. possible revisions to the standard details, right? We talked about even in the policy as well, that if you need to revise it, then it has to be done. You can do it in ongoing construction as well. Creation of a 3D model, a standard 3D model, which we have seen in the previous lecture. Then it will go to 4D model, which is going to have the constraint time, and then it will be converted to 5D model, which is also going to have the constraint of a cost. So this complete makes your designing part in 5-dimensional area or a digitalized method. Last, implementation of 3D data review protocols. That is the important thing, that what you are performing, whatever you are making, has to be applied on the site as well. Last comes your CAD designs, a 3D model guide specification that defines the standards for creating and managing the 3D models. Now see, all these parts are just execution work. Once the models are decided, then it has to be executed on the particular site. Last, it says the construction. So the construction data management, the project management has to be done. The site supervisors have to be assigned. Now what comes over here is the site supervisors which you are assigning have to be trained properly for this automated system, because nobody will be knowing by default, if you say, nobody will be knowing that. So here comes in picture about appointing an engineer or a site supervisor. You are going to train them for this automation technology. Next, low and high accuracy positioning. You have to see that the alignment, for example, the highway alignment which you are going to provide, you have to check for its accuracy during its construction. And automation processes for construction, engineering and inspection. So I think you know a few points from this already. We have just made it into clearer depth, right? So these are your basic stages of automation in highway construction. Next, we are going to talk about the stakeholders. I discussed already right now that there will be various stakeholders. We saw that in the flow chart which was depicting the business policy. So what are the stakeholders over here and what role they are going to play? So first of all, for the survey work, what will be the role of your consultant or your stakeholder? So they are going to perform the topographic survey for you and they are going to give you a construction oversight. Next comes the designing part. Now I think you know what should be the role. I don't think I need to go in that much depth, because if you have seen the last lecture and this lecture, then you will be able to write on your own as well that what will be the different roles of all the consultants. So for the designing part, we are going to have the CAD automation, we are going to have 3D, 4D models, we have the designing models, we have working models. So all these will be done by them. Next, we have contracts. Here comes the finance, right? So the contract, legal work and documents that will be done by the contractors. Next comes the construction. So for that, we are going to have the inspection, the measurement, the specification, the construction equipment. All these things will be involved. Next, your next stakeholder or the consultant will be related to information technology. Now, as we talk about digitalized things, if I talk about even remote sensing, if I talk about automated machine guidance, then all of these systems are going to have a programming work, they are going to have a coding work. That field particular which you are applying, your automation also involves your information technology part as well, which you may not be familiar with. So you are going to have to consult someone from the IT department, information technology, who is going to perform for you the programming works, the software works, digitalized works for you. Then you are going to have the contractors. The contractors will be performing the 3D data requirements, the impact of specifications on safety, the AMG, that is automated machine guidance, and last will be your consultants. So here there will be certain impacts based on the implementation of this new technology as well, because there will be some kind of resistance as well when you are trying to apply these new systems. So the consultants you will be performing, they will be playing a role of creating an impact on the guidelines which you are giving. It can be negative impact, it can be positive impact. So it depends on how you are planning your policy. You can also see an image here in front of me, just above me. It is the survey carried out using the drone technology. We are going to talk about drones in very much detail in the coming sessions. So you can also carry out the survey work with the help of drones other than the remote sensing. Next, we are talking about automation in survey for highway construction. So first, as I said, I am going to discuss in detail about the survey works. So you can see in front of you, various images are flashing in front of you. So let us start with the leftmost image. The first, you can see the leftmost image is divided into 4 compartments. The first left compartment which you can see is an example of a drone. The right which you can see is an example of a LiDAR system. The LiDAR system which carries out the aerial LiDAR system. The bottom one at the corner, the bottom corner left which you can see is a mobile LiDAR system. And the fourth you can see is a static LiDAR system. Also you can see on the right that is on top of me, that is again an example of a aerial LiDAR system. So for us the important part is survey. So for survey we know the stages: establishing site control, accuracy and use of remote sensing. So let us have a look at these various remote sensing methods, that how they work. So we have the first, aerial photogrammetry. Now students, I think you already know what is photogrammetry, right? Aerial surveys are performed using that. You may have studied in depth in surveying as well. So it covers a wide area in a relatively short amount of time. Aerial photogrammetry is actually considered to be a better option if you want to cover a large area in short time. Otherwise, in LiDAR systems, the image processing part is time consuming. It takes a lot of time to create the models as compared to the aerial photogrammetry. But the level of accuracy is more achieved in the LiDAR systems. So here there comes a point in photogrammetry as well, that the processing times are long but the models are created fast. And in mobile LiDAR systems, again the image processing is very much slow, but there are situations in which you can use different type of technology. If I talk about mobile LiDAR system, then it has safety benefits in high volume and high speed roadways, right? If you are designing a roadway or a highway, suppose expressway, it is going to be a high speed roadway, then for that level of accuracy if you want to design, then mobile LiDAR systems are a better option. Large areas can be covered using this system. Then we have the static LiDAR system. It is used for small scale works, which you can see in the bottommost right 4th compartment of the image as well. Now, at last, I am going to talk about the automated machine guidance, the most important part for us, right? How you are going to provide the automation in the equipment. What I am going to talk about is the automated machine guidance. So we can see that there is an example of a foundation trench laying machine right in front of you, the big equipment which you can see. Now we can see that how it is converted into automated machine guidance, meaning it has a GPS antenna, it has a control box where the software will be mounted inside, and with the help of programming you can carry out the automated processes. Then we have the position sensor. Based on the sensor, it is going to detect the materials which are to be coming in between as obstacles, or if you are supposed to stop at that particular point. So based on sensors you are going to induce some kind of sense in it. Then we have the base station or the total station which will be mounted. So all of these things are clubbed together into an equipment and made an automated machine guidance system. This is how your normal manual equipment is converted into automated equipment by mounting all different types of automated guidance. And you can also see for real in the leftmost image, the top image which you can see is how this box, the tool box, the control box is mounted in the equipment. With the help of that you can carry out the controlling process, the excavation process. You can also make it semi-autonomous, meaning manpower will not be required the full time. Everything can be controlled from inside. And the bottommost image you can see is a GPS controlled equipment. So with the help of GPS and mapping which will be live in front of you, you can control the excavation process, the filling process, the cutting process of the trenches or whatsoever work you are performing. So students, this is how your automation in highway construction is implied. Okay students, so we will meet in next session. Have a good day. Thank you.